The Brooklyn apartment smelled like cinnamon and hope that morning. Emily watched her daughter Amara, 6 years old, with eyes that held more wisdom than most adults, carefully gluing glitter onto a handmade Christmas star. The cramped kitchen table was covered in construction paper, ribbons, and the kind of chaos that makes memories. Amara held up the star, her small hands trembling with pride. "Emily, I made this one for Grandma Patricia. Do you think she'll like it?" Emily's heart squeezed. Her daughter had spent 3 weeks crafting gifts for people who barely acknowledged her existence. She brushed a curl from Amara's forehead and smiled, even as doubt gnawed at her gut. "She'll love it, baby. They all will." But Emily knew better. She'd known better for years. At 22, Emily had made choices that turned her family's world upside down. First, she'd adopted Amara when she was barely 20 herself, a decision her mother Patricia called reckless and her father Richard dismissed as a phase. Then she'd moved to a studio apartment in Brooklyn, trading her trust fund access for independence and peace. The gifts were modest but made with love. Hand-painted ornaments, a photo album wrapped in fabric Amara had chosen herself, a wooden jewelry box Emily had sanded and stained over countless late nights. Each piece represented hours of work, sacrifice, and the kind of love money couldn't buy. Amara placed the star carefully in a gift bag, her face glowing. "I can't wait for the party tonight." Emily's stomach twisted. "Maybe we should just stay home, have our own celebration." But no, Amara's face fell, and Emily couldn't bear it. Her daughter deserved to feel like part of a family, even if that family was rotten to the core. So Emily packed up the gifts, dressed Amara in her best dress from the thrift store on Fifth Avenue, and drove out to Long Island. The mansion rose before them like a monument to excess. Richard had built his real estate empire on the backs of exploited workers and shady deals, and the house screamed it. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors so polished you could see your soul's reflection, assuming you had one. Patricia answered the door in a designer gown that cost more than Emily's rent for 6 months. Her eyes swept over Emily's simple sweater and Amara's dress with barely concealed disgust. "You're late." "Traffic was bad," Emily said, forcing brightness into her voice. "Merry Christmas, Mom." Inside, the living room was a showcase of wealth and coldness. Emily's sister Claire was posing by the tree, filming herself for Instagram, her face frozen in that influencer smile that never reached her eyes. Her brother Brandon lounged on the leather couch, scrolling through his phone with the dead-eyed look of someone who'd gambled away his inheritance twice over. Their cousin Todd sat nervously in the corner, wine glass already half empty. He gave Emily a sympathetic look that said, "You know this won't end well, right?" The gift exchange started with Patricia opening a Cartier box from Richard. Claire squealed over a set of designer luggage. Brandon got an envelope stuffed with cash he didn't deserve. Then it was Amara's turn. The little girl approached Patricia with her handmade star, her voice small but hopeful. "I made this for you, Grandma. I used your favorite color." Patricia lifted the star between 2 fingers like it was contaminated. She turned it over, her lip curling. "How quaint." Claire snorted from the couch. "Oh my God, is that construction paper?" Emily's blood began to simmer. "It's handmade, Claire. Amara worked really hard on it." Richard set down his scotch, his expression the same one he used to evict single mothers. "Emily, surely you could have afforded something more appropriate. We're not a charity case." The room temperature dropped 20 degrees. Amara's eyes filled with tears. She looked up at Emily, confusion and hurt written across her face. "Don't they like it?" Patricia laughed, actually laughed, and tossed the star toward the ornate trash can beside the fireplace. "It's trash, sweetie. Maybe when you're older, you'll understand quality." The star hit the rim and fell to the marble floor with a soft rustle. Something inside Emily shattered, then reformed into steel. She walked slowly to the trash can, picked up the star, and smoothed its crumpled point. Her hands were steady. Her voice, when it came, was quiet and deadly calm. You call my daughter's gift trash? Patricia waved a dismissive hand. Don't be dramatic. Emily turned, and the look in her eyes made Todd set down his wine glass. Let's talk about who's been leeching off me for years. Brandon sat up. What are you talking about? Emily pulled out her phone, her fingers flying across the screen. For the past 4 years, I've been your personal ATM. Every time you needed rent money, Mom. Every time your gambling debts got too high, Brandon. Every time you needed funding for your fake influencer lifestyle, Claire. Claire's face went white. You're lying. Emily's laugh was sharp as broken glass. I have receipts, dates, amounts, text messages begging me for money, Venmo transactions with your pathetic excuses attached. She held up her phone, scrolling through a document that went on for pages. October 2021, Mom, $15,000 for your Hamptons timeshare payment. March 2022, Brandon, $8,000 to cover your poker losses. Should I keep going? The room was silent except for the crackling fire and Claire's sharp intake of breath. Richard stood, his face mottling red. That money was yours to give. We're family. Emily looked at Amara, still clutching the star, tears streaming down her beautiful face. Then she looked back at her father. This is my family. You're just people who share my DNA and my bank account. Todd muttered under his breath, Oh, she's gonna lose it. And Emily smiled. The apartment felt smaller when they got home. Emily helped Amara out of her dress, the one they'd picked out together at the Goodwill on Atlantic Avenue, and watched her daughter climb into bed without a word. No questions, no tears, just silence, which was somehow worse. Emily sat on the edge of the mattress, smoothing Amara's hair. Talk to me, baby. Amara's voice was barely a whisper. Why don't they like me, Mama? The question hit Emily like a freight train. She pulled her daughter close, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo and the faint smell of glitter glue that never quite washed out. They don't get to decide your worth, baby. Not them, not anyone. But as Amara finally drifted off to sleep, Emily knew words weren't enough anymore. She moved to the kitchen table, the same one where they'd made the gifts that morning. It felt like a lifetime ago. Emily pulled out her laptop and a leather-bound notebook she'd been keeping for 3 years. The kind of notebook that could end relationships, the kind that could start wars. Every dollar I gave you was a piece of my soul, she whispered to the empty room. Time to show you what it's worth. The notebook was her secret weapon. Page after page of receipts, Venmo screenshots, text messages, and bank statements. Each entry was dated, categorized, and cross-referenced with obsessive precision. Emily had always been good with numbers. Her father used to joke that she should have gone into accounting instead of wasting her time with art school dreams. Turns out, accounting was exactly what she needed. She flipped to the first page. March 2021. $10,000 wired to Patricia for property taxes on the Hamptons house. The same month, Emily had eaten ramen for dinner 14 nights straight so Amara could have fresh fruit with every meal. June 2021. $6,000 to Claire for her bachelorette party in Miami. Emily had worked double shifts at the coffee shop on Flatbush Avenue, her feet screaming in her knockoff sneakers so her sister could drink champagne on a yacht. September 2022, $12,000 to Brandon to cover gambling debts to some loan shark in Atlantic City. Emily had skipped buying herself a winter coat that year. She'd layered 2 hoodies instead and told herself it was fine. Page after page, receipt after receipt, $80,000 over 3 years. $80,000 that could have been Amara's college fund, dance lessons, art supplies, a bigger apartment where she didn't have to share a bedroom with her mom. Instead, it had gone to people who called her daughters love trash. Emily's phone buzzed. A text from Mia Chen, her friend from the journalism program at NYU before Emily had dropped out to focus on Amara. They'd stayed close, bonding over cheap wine and expensive dreams in dive bars across Brooklyn. The text read, "Did you really just blow up Christmas dinner? I'm getting messages from 3 different people." Emily typed back, "Can you come over? I need your help with something." Mia arrived 40 minutes later with a bottle of whiskey and a laptop bag. She took one look at Emily's face and poured 2 glasses without asking. "Talk to me." Emily slid the notebook across the table. "I want to destroy them." Mia opened it, her eyes widening as she flipped through pages. "Holy hell, Em, this is 80 grand. $83,462, Emily corrected, not counting the emotional damage. Mia whistled low. "Your family's loaded. Why were they bleeding you dry?" "Because they could." Emily's voice was flat. "Because I let them. Because I thought if I just gave enough, proved myself enough, they'd finally accept us, accept her." She gestured toward the bedroom where Amara slept. Mia set down her glass, her expression shifting into the focused intensity Emily remembered from their college days. "You know I've been freelancing for the Times, right? Investigative stuff." Emily nodded. "Well, funny story." Mia pulled out her laptop. "I've been digging into your dad's real estate company for a piece on predatory landlords in Queens. Turns out Richard Thompson has a very interesting pattern of buying rent-controlled buildings, harassing tenants until they leave, then flipping them for luxury condos." Emily's pulse quickened. "How interesting." "Illegal, interesting." Mia's fingers flew across her keyboard, forged documents, intimidation tactics. One building in Astoria, he cut the heat in January until a 90-year-old woman ended up in the hospital. She dropped out of her lawsuit after someone threatened her grandson. Emily stared at the screen, her father's smiling face on a real estate website staring back. She'd always known he was ruthless. She hadn't realized he was criminal. "What are you thinking?" Mia asked carefully. Emily took a long sip of whiskey, feeling the burn all the way down. "I'm thinking I want to invite my family to a redo Christmas party. Here, tomorrow night." Mia's eyebrows shot up. "You want them in your apartment after what happened?" Emily smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. "I want them to think I'm apologizing. I want them comfortable. And then I want to show them exactly what happens when you underestimate a woman with receipts and a really good journalist for a friend." Mia leaned back, a slow grin spreading across her face. "You're going to expose them. Every last dirty secret." Emily opened her notebook to a fresh page and started writing names. "But first, I need you to help me build an airtight case. Financial records, real estate fraud, everything." They worked through the night, the only sounds the clicking of keyboards and the occasional clink of glasses. Around 3 in the morning, Amara padded out in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "Mama, why are you still awake?" Emily scooped her up, settling her in her lap. "Just working on something important, baby. Want some hot cocoa?" They made it together, Amara stirring while Emily added marshmallows. Mia watched them, something soft crossing her face. "Your kid is amazing, you know that?" Emily kissed the top of Amara's head. "I know. That's why I'm doing this." Amara looked up at her, chocolate, mustache, and all. "Doing what?" "Making sure nobody ever treats you like you're less than extraordinary again." The next morning, Emily sent a group text to her family. "I'm sorry about yesterday. Let me make it up to you. Christmas dinner at my place tonight. 7 p.m. Please come. I want to fix this." Patricia's response came first. "Fine. But it better not be pizza." "Claire, do you even have enough chairs?" "Brandon, free food is free food." Richard didn't respond, but Emily knew he'd come. He never missed an opportunity to remind her of her place. Emily looked at Mia, who was setting up a camera in the corner, hidden behind a stack of books. "You ready for this?" Mia grinned. "Born ready. Let's take them down." "You thought you could break us?" Emily stood in her tiny Brooklyn apartment, surveying the space she and Amara had transformed. Watch this. The apartment glowed with fairy lights strung across the ceiling, handmade paper snowflakes dangling from fishing line. Amara had spent the afternoon creating decorations, her tongue poking out in concentration as she cut and folded. Every surface sparkled with her work, cheap but beautiful, made with the kind of love that money couldn't touch. Emily had set up a projector borrowed from Mia, aimed at the largest wall. The table was set with mismatched plates and a honey-glazed ham she'd saved 2 months to afford. At 6:55, the intercom buzzed. Patricia arrived first, her nose wrinkling the moment she stepped inside. How cozy. She said it like an insult. Claire followed, her phone already out, filming everything with a smirk. Oh my God, are these decorations made of construction paper? Brandon slouched in last. You got beer, at least? Richard entered with the presence of a man who'd foreclosed on widows for sport. Shall we get this apology over with? Emily smiled, and it was all teeth. Please, sit down. She'd invited her neighbors, too. Mrs. Chen from upstairs, Marcus from the bodega, her coworker Jenny from the coffee shop. They filled the small space, chatting pleasantly, oblivious to the tension crackling beneath Emily's calm surface. Amara sat in the corner, quiet and watchful. She wore a new dress Emily had splurged on, red velvet with white lace. Her eyes tracked her grandmother's every dismissive gesture. Emily served dinner, playing the perfect host. She laughed at Richard's condescending jokes. She nodded sympathetically when Patricia complained about finding good help. She even refilled Brandon's beer without comment. Then, as dessert was being cleared, Emily dimmed the lights. I wanted to show you all something. Her voice cut through the chatter. A little presentation I've been working on. The projector hummed to life. The first image appeared on the wall. A bank statement, Patricia's name at the top, Emily's account number at the bottom, $20,000. Transfer date, April 2022. Patricia's wine glass froze halfway to her lips. Emily clicked to the next slide. This was for the vacation home in the Berkshires, Mom. Remember, you said you'd pay me back in a month. The room went silent except for the projector's fan. Next slide. Brandon's car loan, $15,000. He'd totaled his BMW in a drunk driving incident and begged Emily to bail him out. Claire's wedding, $30,000. Dress, venue, honeymoon. Claire had promised to include Emily in the wedding party. Instead, she'd been relegated to a back table with distant cousins. Emily clicked through slide after slide, each one a piece of her soul she'd given away. $83,462 over 3 years. While I ate ramen and worked myself to exhaustion so my daughter could have a decent life. Mrs. Chen gasped. Marcus shook his head slowly. But wait. Emily's smile turned sharp. There's more. The next slide was a text message screenshot. Claire to Patricia. Can you believe Emily actually thinks that Black Kid is her real daughter? It's so pathetic. Like playing house with a charity case. Claire's face went white. Her wine glass slipped from her hand, red liquid spreading across the floor in slow motion. Another screenshot. Patricia to Richard. If we just stop enabling her poverty fantasy, she'll come crawling back. The girl will end up in foster care where she belongs. Amara made a small sound. Emily glanced at her daughter, seeing tears but also something else. Pride. Her little girl was watching her mother fight. Emily clicked again. Brandon to his bookie. Don't worry about the money. My stupid sister always caves. She's too weak to say no. The room was frozen, every eye fixed on the wall, on the evidence of cruelty laid bare. Richard stood up, his face mottling purple. Turn that off, right now. Emily crossed her arms. Or what, Dad? You'll cut me off? I cut myself off years ago. Mia stepped forward from the corner where she'd been waiting. She held up her phone, the red recording light clearly visible. By the way, everyone, I'm Mia Chen with the New York Times. I've been recording this entire evening. Patricia lunged for the phone, but Marcus stepped between them. Mia continued calmly. I've also been investigating Richard Thompson's real estate practices for the past 6 months. Illegal evictions, forged documents, intimidation of elderly tenants. Richard's lawyers will hear about this, Richard sputtered. Mia smiled. They already have. I sent them a courtesy copy of my article this afternoon. It runs tomorrow morning, front page of the Metro section. Patricia finally found her voice. You can't do this to us. We're family. Emily laughed, and it echoed in the small space. You don't get to talk your way out of this one, Mom. You taught me that family is about loyalty and love. That's why Amara and I are family. And you're just people I used to know. Claire was crying now, mascara running down her face. My followers are going to see this. Already trending, actually. Jenny held up her phone. Someone leaked the screenshots an hour ago. Brandon grabbed his coat. This is insane. Emily blocked the door. Before you go, there's one more thing. I've filed a police report about the harassment. I've changed all my bank accounts. And I've gotten a restraining order. Richard stepped forward, his face twisted with rage. We made you. Everything you have, we gave you. Emily met his eyes without flinching. You gave me nothing. I earned every cent, and you stole it. But that ends tonight. She opened the door. Get out, all of you. They filed out in silence, broken and humiliated. Patricia tried one last time to speak, but Emily closed the door in her face. The apartment erupted in cheers. Mrs. Chen hugged Emily. Marcus high-fived Mia. Jenny wiped tears from her eyes. And Amara, sweet 6-year-old Amara, walked up to her mother and took her hand. You were really brave, Mama. Emily knelt down, pulling her daughter close. We were brave, baby, both of us. Outside, snow began to fall on the Brooklyn streets. Inside, the fairy lights twinkled, and for the first time in years, Emily's apartment felt like home. You think you can steal from me and walk away? Emily stared at her phone screen, her hands shaking. Big mistake. 3 days after the party, she'd woken up to a text from her bank. Unusual activity detected on your account. Please contact us immediately. The number made her stomach drop. $5,000. Gone. Withdrawn at 3 in the morning from an ATM in Atlantic City. She knew immediately. Brandon. Emily sat at her kitchen table, Amara still asleep in the bedroom, and scrolled through her transaction history. The login had come from an old password she'd used 2 years ago when she'd bailed Brandon out of his gambling debts. He'd watched her type it in, memorized it like the parasite he was. Her phone rang. Mia's name flashed on the screen. Tell me you saw the news, Mia said without preamble. Emily rubbed her eyes. What news? Your brother just made a major withdrawal from your account. My source at the precinct flagged it as potential fraud. Emily's laugh was bitter. It's not potential. It's definite. He stole from me. Good. Mia's voice was sharp with satisfaction. That means we can press charges. And I know someone who can help. 2 hours later, Emily sat in a diner on Flatbush Avenue across from Sarah Klein, a lawyer with a reputation for taking down powerful men. Sarah was in her 40s, with silver streaks in her dark hair and eyes that missed nothing. She ordered black coffee and got straight to business. Your brother committed a federal crime, Sarah said, sliding a legal pad across the table. Unauthorized access to a bank account. That's 5 to 10 years if we push it. Emily felt something fierce bloom in her chest. Push it. Sarah smiled. I like you. Now, Mia tells me your family's got skeletons. Real estate fraud, intimidation, the works. My father's company has been buying up rent-controlled buildings in Queens and forcing tenants out. Emily pulled up files on her phone, the ones Mia had shared. Forged eviction notices, harassment. One woman ended up in the hospital after he cut her heat in January. Sarah's eyes gleamed. And you have proof? Mia does. Months of investigation. But we need something concrete to get the police to act. Sarah tapped her pen against the legal pad. The bank hack is concrete. Your brother left a digital trail. If we follow that trail, we might find connections to your father's business. Fraud tends to run in families. Emily thought about the years she'd spent watching her family operate. The whispered phone calls, the cash payments, the way Richard always had an answer when buildings mysteriously passed inspections they should have failed. I think Brandon handles some of the under-the-table payments for my dad's company. Sarah leaned forward. Can you prove it? No, but I know someone who might be able to. They worked through the afternoon, building a case. Sarah made calls to the district attorney's office. Mia pulled up archived articles about suspicious real estate deals. Emily provided insider knowledge, all the family secrets she'd absorbed over 22 years of being invisible. By evening, they had enough for a warrant. The police raided Richard's office on a Tuesday morning. Emily watched the news from her apartment, Amara pressed against her side. The footage showed officers carrying boxes of documents out of the Thompson real estate headquarters in Midtown. Richard stood on the steps, his face purple with rage, shouting about harassment and false accusations. But the cameras caught everything. The forged signatures, the intimidation tactics, the paper trail of bribes and threats. Emily's phone exploded with notifications. The first was from Patricia. How could you do this to your own father? Emily deleted it without responding. The second was from Claire, posted publicly on Instagram. My so-called sister has betrayed our family. She's ungrateful, vindictive, and using her adopted daughter as a pawn for sympathy. Don't fall for her victim act. The post had 300 comments already, most of them vicious. Emily felt the old familiar shame trying to creep in. Then she looked at Amara, who was watching her with those wise eyes. Are they being mean again, Mama? Emily pulled her daughter close. Yeah, baby, they are. What are you going to do? Emily thought about it. Then she smiled. I'm going to let you tell our story. They set up Emily's phone on a stack of books. Amara sat at the kitchen table, her handmade Christmas star in front of her. Emily hit record. Hi, I'm Amara. I'm 6 years old. I made this star for my grandma for Christmas because I thought she would like it. Amara's voice was small but steady. She held up the star, turning it so the camera caught the glitter and careful folds. She said it was trash. She threw it away, but my mama picked it up because she said it was beautiful. Amara looked directly at the camera. I worked really hard on my presents. I used my favorite colors and my best glue. I don't think that's trash. I think that's love. The video lasted 90 seconds. Emily posted it without a caption. It went viral in 6 hours. The comments poured in, thousands of them, people sharing their own stories of rejection and resilience, parents talking about their kids' handmade gifts, teachers posting pictures of student artwork. A wave of support so overwhelming that Claire's hateful post got buried under an avalanche of kindness. Someone started a GoFundMe for Emily and Amara. It raised $20,000 in 2 days. A gallery in Williamsburg reached out, asking if they could display Amara's crafts in a show about the value of handmade art. The New York Times ran Mia's exposé on the front page. The headline read, "Real Estate Empire Built on Fraud and Fear." The article detailed everything. Richard's illegal evictions, Brandon's money laundering, Patricia's complicity in covering it all up. Sarah called Emily that evening. The district attorney wants to talk. They're offering your brother a deal if he testifies against your father. Will he take it? Sarah laughed. Brandon's a coward. He'll take it. Emily sat on her fire escape that night, watching the Brooklyn streets glow with neon and headlights. Amara was asleep inside, clutching her Christmas star. Her phone buzzed, a text from a number she didn't recognize. "This isn't over. We'll destroy you." Emily read it twice, then blocked the number. She looked up at the sky, at the few stars visible through the city lights, and smiled. Let them try. We don't need their approval. Emily stood in the doorway of their new apartment, watching Amara arrange handmade stars on the mantel. We've got each other, and that's enough. 1 year had changed everything. The settlement from the lawsuit against Richard's company had been substantial, $200,000, enough for Emily to put down a deposit on a real 2-bedroom apartment in Park Slope. Enough to breathe without constantly checking her bank account. Enough to finally give Amara the childhood she deserved. The apartment had hardwood floors that creaked in the right places and windows that caught the morning light. Amara had her own room, painted lavender at her request, with shelves for her art supplies and a desk where she spent hours creating. Emily had quit the coffee shop. Her Etsy shop, Amara's Stars, had exploded after the viral video. Orders poured in from across the country. People wanted the handmade ornaments that a 6-year-old girl had been told were trash. They paid $20 each, sometimes more, and left reviews that made Emily cry. This star hangs in my daughter's room to remind her that her art matters. I bought this for my mom, who always valued homemade gifts over expensive ones. Amara was 7 now, taller and more confident. She attended an art program at the Brooklyn Museum every Saturday, surrounded by kids who celebrated her creativity instead of mocking it. Tonight was their Christmas party. Not the sterile, toxic gathering from last year, but a real celebration with people who actually cared. The apartment filled with warmth and laughter. Mia arrived first, carrying wine and a wrapped present. Sarah came next with her wife, both bearing homemade cookies. Mrs. Chen from their old building had made the trip, bringing dumplings and fierce hugs. Marcus from the bodega showed up with his husband and their new puppy. Jenny brought her girlfriend and a photo album documenting Emily and Amara's journey. The living room glowed with fairy lights and Amara's creations. Stars hung from the ceiling at different heights, catching the light and casting dancing shadows. The tree was decorated entirely with handmade ornaments, each one a testament to hours of love and glitter glue. Amara wore a green velvet dress with gold trim. She moved through the party with quiet pride, showing guests her latest projects, explaining her techniques with the seriousness of a master craftsman. Look, this one I made with 3 layers of paper so it's stronger. And this one has a hidden pocket inside where you can put a wish. The guests responded with genuine appreciation. No condescension, no mockery. Just real recognition of real talent. Emily stood in the kitchen, preparing appetizers, and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Sarah appeared at her elbow. You did it, kid. You really did it. Emily smiled. We did it. I couldn't have gotten here without you and Mia. Sarah raised her wine glass. To chosen family, the ones who show up when it matters. They clinked glasses just as the TV in the living room caught Emily's attention. The anchor's voice carried across the party. In a stunning development, former real estate mogul Richard Thompson has been indicted on 43 counts of fraud, racketeering, and witness intimidation. His company has filed for bankruptcy following lawsuits from former tenants. The room went quiet. Everyone turned to watch. The screen showed Richard in handcuffs, his face gaunt and aged beyond recognition. The man who'd once commanded rooms now looked small and defeated. His daughter, social media influencer Claire Thompson, has lost over 2 million followers after her role in the family's schemes came to light. The next shot showed Claire hiding behind sunglasses, fleeing from reporters outside a courthouse. Patricia Thompson and her son Brandon have reportedly left the state, though their whereabouts remain unknown. Mia appeared beside Emily. My editor wants to do a follow-up piece, full circle story. Emily shook her head. I'm done talking about them. This is about us now. The party continued. They ate and laughed and played charades until Amara started yawning. The guests filtered out slowly, each one hugging Emily and Amara, promising to see them soon. After everyone left, Emily and Amara sat on the couch, surrounded by wrapping paper and the warm glow of Christmas lights. "Best Christmas ever," Amara said, leaning against her mother. Emily kissed the top of her head. "The best." The next morning, Emily found an envelope that had been slipped under their door. No return address, just her name written in Patricia's distinctive handwriting. She recognized it immediately, her mother's desperate attempt to worm back into her life. Emily walked to the kitchen and held the envelope over the stove burner. She didn't open it, didn't read whatever excuses or manipulations Patricia had crafted. She just watched the paper catch fire, curl, and turn to ash. Amara wandered in, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "What are you doing, Mama?" "Just taking out the trash, baby." Amara giggled at that, and the sound filled the kitchen like sunlight. They made pancakes together, Amara standing on a stool to help flip them. Through the window, snow began to fall on the Brooklyn brownstones, covering everything in white. Fresh, clean, new. Emily's phone buzzed with an order notification. Someone in California wanted 5 custom stars for their family. The message attached read, "My daughter saw your story and it inspired her to start making art again. Thank you for showing her that handmade means something." Emily showed Amara, who beamed with pride. "Can we make them extra special?" Amara asked. Emily pulled her daughter close. "We'll make them perfect." That evening, they worked side by side at the kitchen table. Amara cut and folded with practiced precision. Emily handled the intricate details, the touches that made each piece unique. They worked in comfortable silence, occasionally humming along to the Christmas music playing softly. Outside, the city moved and breathed. Somewhere, the Thompson family was dealing with the consequences of their cruelty. But inside this apartment, in this moment, none of that mattered. Emily looked at her daughter, covered in glitter and completely absorbed in her work, and realized something profound. She'd spent so many years fighting for approval from people who would never give it. But here, now, she was exactly who she was meant to be. A mother, an artist, a survivor. Amara held up a finished star. "Perfect," she declared. Emily smiled. "Just like you, baby. Just like you."